Good to have you with us in this edition of the Urban Debate. Brand after brand continues to be a soft target for those who are filled with hate, for those who see everything from the prism of caste or religion or communal divisions. After Fab India withdrew its advertisement following backlash over its Diwali ad and using an Urdu phrase, Jashn-e-Riwaz, to describe the festival of Diwali and their Diwali sale. This time, it's the BJP MP, Anantkumar Hegde, who's raised objection over an ad by Ceat tires on crackers. This ad features actor Amir Khan. The message actually is a civic social message in this ad, which essentially talks about not bursting crackers on roads. To do it inside your society campuses, but not on roads. And then Amir Khan goes on to say, but up until that really stops in this country, you can use these tires to ensure you're able to brake on time. That's the message in that ad. And this has now been picked up to label it anti-Hindu, simply because actor Amir Khan is trying to send across a message which is actually just about being a good citizen. And he's chosen to be in this ad that talks about Diwali and not any other festival. So what is it that the BJP leader has a problem with, saying that there is a communal connotation? This is anti-Hindu actors trying to hurt Hindu sentiments, saying that if you are addressing road blockage, why don't you do and talk about road blockage due to the namaaz that takes place? This is what has been said in a letter to the makers, to the brand that is advertising here. Just the second such incident just in the last 1 week. Happens all the time these days. Usually it starts and ends with social media, with a few people here and there taking objection. Often, if it reaches a large scale, brands do give in and pull back. When a parliamentarian makes such a comment, then it becomes even a graver issue. Now, I don't know if the problem is that Amir Khan is doing an ad which is about Diwali, or that he is talking about the practice that we have. I will not call this a tradition. I don't think that it's part of Hindu tradition to go around blocking roads and bursting crackers on roads as part of Diwali. But if he's talking about a social message here, is that the problem? Or that he's chosen to talk about Diwali and not about a festival that Mr. Hegde thinks will be a Muslim festival? Are we now dividing festivals on those lines and deciding who should have a message and who should act in advertisements according to their religion? In 2019, Surf Excel Rang Lai Sang campaign also fell into trouble. In 2020, there was a Tanishq baby shower ad, interfaith family, that fell into trouble. In 2021, there was Manevar's Mohe Kanyadan commercial trying to bring about a progressive message about this tradition of Kanyadan. 2021, Fab India Jashn-e-Riwaz collection, and the latest one is Ceat. So many more. If you remember, viewers, we had this conversation even a few days ago about what is it that the brands should do, how should they handle it when Zomato got into trouble for something else. Tonight, we're going to talk about, is this now becoming a trend just because they're soft targets? Is it fair to target corporates over ads, especially for your political purposes? First up, before I go across to our bigger panel, quick word in from Mr. Harish Bijoor, brand guru, joining me this evening. Good evening, Mr. Bijoor. Is this a fair game, fair play to target corporates and brands and question their values and strategies?
Okay, at this point of time, brands are targeted, companies are targeted, and I think we've seen this happening for a period of time now. What's really happening is there has emerged a clutch of some 9 and odd brands, which I would call battered brands. Is this fair? Possibly not fair, because many of the arguments against the battered brands have not lived up to expectations of the people who were battering them down. So as of today, I do believe, yes, certainly not fair. But then marketing is a democracy. And in a democracy, there are two opinions. There is the opinion of the niche, and then there is the opinion of the mass. Now, please note that in a democracy, it is always the opinion of the mass that has an upper hand than that of the niche. And that's exactly what's happening. There is a mass opinion at one point of time, which is something which you called a practice, which continues for a long period of time. And then there is the niche opinion, which says that we must change that mass opinion and we must get socially inclusive, we must move ahead, which is right in a democratic setup. And marketing is a democracy. It's always the mass opinion which holds greater water than the niche opinion.
So then should no brand have any social message about not bursting crackers at all, because that's not a niche view yet in our country?
Tanvi, the point is this. If there is a niche message, you must take it through a niche medium. If there is a mass message, take it through a mass medium. If you take a niche message through a mass medium, and that's where the problem lies. And this problem which has arisen is exactly that. And we live in a day and age of sensitive and sensitized social media, where everybody picks up the cudgels against anything that comes by, and a small little bit is made out into a huge issue. And therefore, I think brands need to be careful. Sadly,
so let me
and take a break.
Okay, so let me ask you this now: how there are definitions or perceptions of niche versus mass, because that line could get blurred in the day and age of social media. A few people, along with their troll armies, may be able to make noise about it, or send a handful of their henchmen outside a store to do some halla. But can that be then viewed as mass?
No, certainly not. I think there are better systems. Today, you have AI systems which can actually troll, social media chatter, which tells you exactly, there are many kinds of people on social media. There is the bot, there is the competitor's bot who wants to rile you down. Then there is there is a person who just wants to talk about anything and everything all the time. And then there's the real consumer. I think brands must be concerned about real consumers for sure. But when it comes to this issue of picking up a social message and taking it to the masses, I think brands must feel the pulse of their consumers before stepping into advertising. Because, it's been a while that these things are going on. And, if the fact is that the mass, actually is not happy with something, you must possibly step back. And that's prudent brand behavior. So I advise brands, simple two things: don't dabble in politics, don't dabble with religion and allied arenas, because these are divisive subjects. Both divide. Politics divides people, religion divides people. Basic brand ethos is to unite customers, not to divide customers.
Mr. Bijoor, there is also an alternate thought that often gets brought about in such examples, where they say sometimes, and I mean, not that we know officially of any instance, but I'm sure you do, sometimes brands also do this intentionally. Do you think that's actually becoming a bigger problem now and a bigger trend?
Well, the brands which have had problems thus far, these clutch of nine battered brands of India, as I call them, they are all responsible brands. I don't believe any one of them has done this to get attention. And I don't think Ceat has done this to get attention of that kind. Because publicity is good, all publicity is good, but negative publicity is not great. Not for a tire, not for a watch, not for anything else. So I would, give the benefit of the doubt to these brands that they aren't doing this simply to create hangama.
Okay, so my last question to you, which is also an argument that's often presented, that one by one, if everybody from corporates to brands and influencers, actors, any kind of celebrities, people with large following, if one by one people start maintaining silence over what they think should happen, or the social messages that they want, or the values they want to talk about and stand for, then where are we headed as a society if all we care about is what the response is going to be, and hence let's not get into it?
Tanvi, the answer lies in the fact that brands are owned by companies, and companies are out there to take care of their stakeholders. Their stakeholders are consumers, their stakeholders are employees, their stakeholders are everybody who contributes to the system. The role of a brand is to take care of its stakeholders. So I would very simply say it. I'm a brand person and I've watched this pan out for a while now. My simple advice to brands is, hey, listen, brands, I think, we need to step back at this point of time. Brands must mind their own business. Business in inverted commas, because business is important. Why do brands roll back and say that, I'm pulling out this ad? Because they're worried their business is going to be hit. So brands, please take care, step back for a while. Your time will come, but your time is not now. So brands, please take care of your own business. Mind your own business.
Mind your own business. That is what Harish Bijoor tweeted today as well, and is reiterating that thought process, his advice to the brands. The biggest of those brands, the strongest of the brands we've seen in our country for, over decades, now getting into trouble for the communication that they are taking on. Thank you so much, Harish Bijoor, for joining me with your view. Let me also go across to Anurag Naidu, joins me this evening. Bijon Mishra, Citizen Voice. Shadan Farasad, advocate with the Supreme Court. Jagdeep Kapoor, brand guru, and Vijay Prasad, spokesperson for Karnataka BJP. I want to go up first to Mr. Vijay Prasad and understand this. Mr. Prasad, what exactly is the problem here? There is a message that we shouldn't burst crackers on roads, which could cause accidents or damage to cars and people's lives, or that the person giving this message is Amir Khan?
Tanvi, first of all, I would like to congratulate Anantkumar ji for writing this letter to Ceat India MP. Okay. Before I answer your question, I would like to ask you a counter question.
No, Mr. Vijay Prasad, firstly, this platform is not for you to score your own political brownie points with Mr. Hegde. I'm sure you can pick up the phone and send him a text or call him. Secondly, I asked you a question first. I would appreciate if you answer me first.
No. See, I have already done that. I have already messaged Anantkumar Hegde ji for writing this letter to the Ceat MP. See, this kind of messages, this kind of ad, as Harish Bijoor rightly said, it should unite the customers and not divide the customers on the basis of religion. Okay, so I don't know why these people are taking exactly the Hindu festival, releasing these ads during the Hindu festival and targeting the Hindu festivals. Why not on the other Muslim festivals? And the Amir Khan or the Ceat goes on to say that the road sales for the vehicles to pass. Why should you burst the crackers? Precisely the same question I will ask back. Ceat, the roads are meant for the vehicles, not for doing the namaaz. Why not target? Why not tell this during any of the Muslim festivals or any other religious festival?
So the problem is what exactly? Is it the message that what is dangerous to people, to cars and people in those cars, because you burst crackers and people have to maneuver, which could lead to accidents? You are saying you back that and nobody should speak up about it? Or is the problem that Amir Khan, who is a Muslim man, is speaking about what you think is only a Hindu festival? By the way, bursting crackers on roads has nothing to do with the actual festival. I am sure as the flag bearer of the religion, I'm sure as the flag bearer of the religion Hinduism, you are very well aware of what the festival of lights is supposed to be about, and it's not about bursting crackers on roads.
No. For us, for the Hindus, Deepavali is not complete without bursting the crackers.
Deepavali is the festival of lights, of deeps.
No, Tanvi,
do you know what that means? Lamps?
I will not agree with you. And
you are not the custodian of how everybody should see this festival, Mr. Vijay Prasad. You are not the custodian of how I as a Hindu sees this festival.
Is not complete without bursting the crackers. Okay, period. Let us not now argue about whether we
I will, because we are bringing a bad name to this festival by standing up for practices which should not exist.
I am concerned about. It is the narrative. It is not about
The narrative
person
is
who
being built by you and your party leader
No, no,
who is
no.
dividing
It is
people on
the-
issues that don't
no, no, no.
exist.
We are
You
not-
are
no, no.
dividing people on issues that don't need to
I
exist
did not
at
do that.
all.
We did not do the ad. We did not do the ad. Okay, we did not do the
You
ad.
are standing up for practice which
No,
is
no,
dangerous to people's lives and causes road accidents.
No, no, no. See, again, see, it is not that question. Okay, people know how to burst the crackers. It is not always on the road. And while bursting the crackers, even during the namaz, people do the namaz in mid of the road. That is also dangerous. Okay. That
Mr.
is also-
Prasad,
see,
firstly,
let's
I am
have
not
two-
going to sit here
let us
and
not-
listen to excuses about
no,
whataboutery
no, it
because
is not-
whataboutery doesn't work on my
Whatever
show.
it is,
Secondly,
whatever it
Mr.
is,
Prasad,
the narrative-
you are
the
actually
more
comparing what is
concerned
not
about the
part,
narrative,
essentially
the
inherently
instead
part of a
because the
festival
Hindu
to
festival
prayers
comes-
in another religion.
Hindu festival comes, whenever the Hindu festival comes, be it Ganesha Chaturthi, whatever it is, you talk about size of the Ganesha, don't put the loudspeaker. And what about the Azan? The Azan starts at 5 a.m. in the morning. You are troubling the patients. You are troubling the old. You are troubling the students.
And
You are
who's
troubling
stopping
the
you
people.
from speaking up about it? Who's stopping you from speaking up about it, imposing the rules that exist as far as loudspeakers are concerned?
This is exactly what. This is
Why is that
exactly what-
Ceat's problem?
Why this double standard?
Why
this
is that
double standard?
Ceat's problem?
Why always target the Hindu
Nobody is
festival?
targeting. This
That
is not about
it
the
is
Hindu
targeting.
festival. Please
It is
stop
the-
making it about the Hindu festival.
No. It is about the setting the narrative.
It is not
Setting
about the
narrative
festival. I refuse to
only during
believe
the Hindu-
that the
Hindu
festival of Diwali is
And-
about bursting crackers
and
on
you
the road.
imagine-
I refuse to
let me-
believe that. It is
No,
about
no, let-
families coming together.
it
It
is
is about love
last
and
week-
peace. It
last-
is a festival
last
of lights. It's a
last week,
celebration of
Fab
togetherness,
India-
love and harmony.
last week,
I refuse to
Fab
believe
India-
that you're
you-
going to reduce my festival to bursting crackers on road,
No,
Mr.
no.
Prasad. Who gave you
It
the
is
authority
not
to do that?
No. See, if I start giving tips on how to conduct your urban debate, will you agree with that? Will you
Everybody
agree
does
with
all
that?
the time.
No. Will you agree? Will you agree?
I am told
if
every
start
day.
Will you agree if I start giving tips on how to conduct your urban debate? Will you not invite
I
me at all?
would if
Okay,
if
you
there
will
are
not
social
invite me at
messages.
all.
Why should
Okay.
social messages not be allowed? I don't
See,
understand.
Social messages.
What are
see,
you trying?
when
Are you
are
going to
trying
now
give-
suddenly stand up and say
when
I am going to
you
defend
are
sati
into
because it
these
is all
social
about the
messages,
Hindu rights and culture
you-
and sati and dowry are such great traditions of this culture. We will stand up for it. Nobody dares say
Deepavali-
anything for it.
Deepavali is not being celebrated only yesterday or day before. We have been celebrating the Deepavali right from the ages. Let us not teach the Hindus how to celebrate
Please,
Deepavali.
exactly, and that's what I am saying. Asked you to become the moral guardian of all Hindus.
Very regressive ad.
It is not a
Social
regressive
media-
ad, it's the most progressive ad.
the social media was a significant trend. Because of the significant trend, today Fab India is running empty shops. Only salespersons are inside the shops.
Very
None of
good.
the
I think you can congratulate everybody who took on Fab India
Of course,
and
I
decided
of
to
course
mansplain
congratulate
women about whether
everyone.
they should wear a bindi or not, and that their entire identity and cultural identity and religious identity is reduced to wearing a bindi. I'm going to go across to our other panelists who are joining me on this conversation as well.
I
Mr. Bijoor
congratulate
Mishra.
again Anant. I congratulate again Anantkumar
Mr.
Hegde for
Bijoor
writing this
Mishra,
letter.
where are we headed? A social message to be a better person. Everybody should be standing up for a message to be a better person, irrespective of religion, caste, which culture, what tradition.
You see, Tanvi, the law is very conveying a message which is not deliberate, which is not actually an insult, but it is some kind of a puffery. You can say in the advertising language. Then it is not illegal, and even the courts have decided that. So what we need to understand is that there is a code of conduct in terms of advertising, and there are laws and regulations to regulate the content of advertising in our country. If anybody is offended or feels that they have been offended, then they have all the right to go before the court to challenge that, and or go before the Advertising Standard Council of India, which is a voluntary initiative by the industry to take care of any kind of a mischievous messaging being done, which actually infringes on the religious feeling or sentiments of the citizens. So having said that, you see, my contention is brands like Ceat should always ensure that their messaging is so clear that it doesn't undermine anybody, and we have all the right to understand that we can't make a kind of a huge hyper on such issues, because it is not, the message is not infringing on my rights as a Hindu. As a Hindu, it is not infringing on my rights. It is giving certain messages in terms of the strength of the tire. It is giving certain messages that how a tire is strong enough to make sure that nobody gets hurt, even when somebody jumps into the middle of the road. Now, my contention is that's the message. The message is not undermining Diwali, undermining cracking of crackers, or undermining anybody's religious sentiments. It is not. But if people feel that it is, then you have all the right, go before the court, get an order from the court. Tripura High Court has already given an order. Go and challenge that. Go to the Supreme Court. But why are you making an issue out of which is not an issue? You see, the brands are supposed to be communicating certain messages to the citizens, to the consumers, which conveys that message in terms of what the citizen should know about that product or about that brand. And that is how the brands are created. Brands are created out of a product which the consumers promote. And because the consumers promote that brand, that brand becomes a leader in the marketplace. So if Ceat is doing a campaign where it is not infringing on religious rights, they are getting a celebrity to do that act for them, and they're conveying that their tire is so superior, that it is so effective, that even if somebody comes onto the middle of the road, lighting crackers, they're safe. It is nothing to do with Diwali or celebration of Diwali. Please, for heaven's sake, don't misquote people. And if you still feel you are right and you want to make a sensation out of it by writing a letter to an elected representative, tell that elected representative where he should go and represent your case. Tell that elected representative. He should be knowing, because he makes the law. He makes the law. And if somebody is infringing on the law, he should go before the judiciary and seek remedy.
Mr. Mishra, I know you're advocating it, but and of course, everybody in this country has a right to do so. But I would personally feel what a colossal wastage of time it will be for our courts, and every day they get inundated with these kind of complaints.
I agree with you.
FIRs in multiple states, in multiple cities, ensure that the brand custodian or the certain filmmaker or a TV show maker is running around across 10 states, answering you, presenting themselves in front. And then that's also become a trend, unfortunately. Mr. Jagdeep Kapoor, thank you for patiently waiting by. The argument that Harish Bijoor was making about brands minding their own business until their time comes is actually also very telling to me about the times we live in, where everybody is so sensitive.
First of all, Tanvi, thank you for inviting me on your wonderful program, and to use, with your permission, your brand name Mirror. A brand is actually a mirror of society, and I have 4 points to make. The first one is that where are brands built? Brands are fundamentally built in the minds and hearts of consumers. They are not built in stores. They are not built in factories. They are built in minds and hearts of consumers. The second thing, which I always tell my clients, that they have to be careful about 3 things. The first thing is be sensible. That is the first S. The second S, understand the sensitivities of everyone, all Indians, right? And the third thing is you have to have a relationship, a sambandh. My brand mantra is sambandh, nahi to sab bandh. So there are 3 S's you have to be able to work on. The third point I'm making is that whether a brand is selling online or offline, whether a brand is focusing on its top line or bottom line, a brand must be careful of not going out of line. For example, whether it be a piece of cloth or whether it be a tire or whether it be XYZ, there is so much quality control taken care of to make sure that physically no one gets hurt, right? Irrespective of which caste, I'm not getting into that. I'm talking from an absolute neutral corporate perspective. So if there can be quality control in the quality of the product, I believe the time has come that corporates and everyone in communication should also run a quality control in the kind of communication. Maybe accidentally, maybe deliberately, maybe intentionally, maybe unintentionally. Because at the end of the day, the myth, and this is my fourth point, is that any publicity is good publicity. It's not true. Good brands keep away from controversy, whether done accidentally or whether done deliberately. All consumers are basically neutral. When a brand comes in front of them, they buy the brand for the goodness of the brand, what benefit it gives them, and how it fulfills their needs. And therefore, my fourth point is, I think the time has come that maybe every corporate will, along with quality control, have to have a department of quality control of communication. Is this going to hurt someone? Is this going to cause a controversy? Because at the end of the day, all those controversial things actually cause a loss to the brand and to the corporate. And I don't think at any point of time, any sensible corporate should be, fishing in those kind of waters.
But Mr. Kapoor, today, and I will, of course, it was said by a politician today, but often this comment is made that brands also need to stand up for their own values, irrespective of the politics or the culture or whatever else. Now, and if by this logic, no brand will be able to stand up for a noise-free, pollution-free Diwali, because there is a cultural, religious connotation to it. But isn't that the sensible thing as a society to move towards?
So, Tanvi, respectfully, may I respond?
Yes.
In my opinion, if there is a fabric brand, then the fabric brand should stand for the value of comfort, the feel, the fit, the look, because that is what it is meeting the need of the consumer. If it's a tire brand, then it needs to stand for the value of it being safe, or it being in control, or it being in a manner which doesn't skid during rains, etc. Because those are the core values of the brand. And if those core values are taken care of, and you are in a position to build that, because that is the reason the consumer is going out and buying the brand. The consumer is wanting their needs to be fulfilled and to be met with benefits. I'm sure that what you say is absolutely right. They should stand for their values, the core values, but related to what needs the brand is meeting. When you start going beyond your core values, then at that point of time, instead of attracting, you are actually distracting. And I'm only speaking from a corporate brand point of view, very, very clear without getting into any controversy.
Okay, fair enough.
One must understand in the long term, what happens to the brand. People think that by getting into a controversy or this stupid thing that any publicity is good publicity, it's not true. Because then you'll see all good brands have been non-controversial, and they have kept away from that because, and I'm strongly propagating that every corporate better have quality control in their communication.
But
also.
I mean, you are an expert here, but I would just beg to disagree there, simply because in the recent times, brands that have gotten into trouble are the biggest, most established names from a company like Hindustan Unilever, from Ceat, which is viewed as a responsible brand as well. Tanishq from the house of Tatas. I mean, if you're talking about credible, trustworthy brands, these are right on top of that list. And these are the ones who are getting into trouble. One can say, okay, Manyavar is relatively a new clothing brand. Maybe they're still finding their way. But Fab India isn't. And they've done this for the longest time and earned people's trust. Now, are they being intentionally naughty? Or are they now living in a world that they haven't caught up with, where sensitivities matter way too much? Shadhan Farasat, where do you stand on this debate?
No, I think it's a pattern now, and I think in this case you posed the question rightly. The fact that the actor was Muslim is doing an ad on Diwali seems to be the trigger point for the BJP MP raising it as an issue, and that's really unfortunate. Because, even he says it's anti-Hindu, but the word Hindu itself comes from Hind, which is Arabic for India. So we have such a syncretic culture. You have Muslims with Hindu surnames. You have, the Hindu word itself has Arabic origins. So I think this kind of, trying to frame everything in a us versus them is so unfortunate. It's an ad on a Ceat tire being effective, being able to stop on the road, even if crackers are being, burst on the road. To communalize it just because the actor is from a religion and then raise it as an issue, just so it really pains me. It's really unfortunate. And I would just say this is, I think this is heckler's veto. What in legal terminology, something we call as heckler. So every heckler can heckle and stop it. And, the speech which is otherwise kosher, perfectly fine. I understand the corporates are, playing safe. They will be wanting to play safe. But really speaking, it's time the corporates also take a stand. There's nothing wrong with this ad. It's perfectly kosher. They should hold back and say, no, we don't feel we intended to, diminish anybody, and we have not. And therefore, we are not going to pull back on that. Yes, maybe for 5 days or 10 days, you may have some customers who won't go there. But eventually, in the long term, I think our population is suave enough. We are tolerant enough. And we understand that these kind of things which are done by, particular at the behest of specific political parties will not last. That's my position.
No.
Okay, I know, Mr.
Tanvi,
Prasad.
I want to come in here.
Yes.
I want to counter here. See, the typical ad. What does the ad says? Okay, the ad. If you see the camera is focused on the tire. Okay. And then the car comes and brakes abruptly, and there is a cracker bursting going on in front of the car. Okay, imagine a situation. Okay, let's take this ad. Let's take it on a Friday. Okay, Friday morning, Friday afternoon, Friday evening, in front of a mosque. Okay, in front of the mosque, the car comes, brakes suddenly. Opposite of the car, the namaaz is going on. Why don't this kind of ad comes up? Okay, why only target Hindu festival? This is not the case. See, here we are
So
not.
tell me, would you want such an ad or not want such an ad?
Tanvi, can I come in?
You should.
Yeah,
Tanvi,
Anurag, I'm coming to you next. Just give me 30 seconds.
Will
Yeah.
you agree?
No, I'm asking you, Mr. Prasad. Do you want an ad that where a car comes to a standstill because of the amazing tire, where 50 Muslims are praying on the road, and that is why it has to come to a sudden stop? You want an ad like that? I'm asking you.
I will ask my friend advocate from the Supreme Court. He agrees with the ad. Will he agree with the kind
Mr.
of
Prasad,
ad?
the concept of a discussion.
Any religion is blocking. If your objection is,
Yeah.
objection is that it's X versus Y, please encourage them to have another ad with other religions. I have no difficulty.
But
Why are you stopping
Mr. Prasad,
Harish
Mr.
Bijoor
Prasad,
rightly said.
I think the
Harish Bijoor
let me
rightly
allow me 30 seconds,
The
please.
ad-
I am very politely asking you this. I think the concept of discussion is lost on you on how it happens on a TV channel, where the moderator usually asks questions to people and they answer. I am still trying to get one answer out of you, because every time I ask you a question, you ask me a counter question. Now, I know that is inherent perhaps to your party that believes only in whataboutery and not making itself accountable and answerable to the people. But I'm again trying to ask you, do you believe, if you believe that people praying on roads, or even any kind of religious processions for that matter, irrespective of which religion it is, religious processions on roads, if you believe they are a menace, that the brands should stand up and talk about it or shouldn't touch it at all? Whether they touch namaz, or they touch azan, or they touch Durga Puja, or they touch Ganesh Chaturthi, should they or should they not?
Irrespective of the religion, irrespective of the
They should not.
religion, they cannot. But only thing is, don't select only Hindu festival, and don't bring your caveat only during the Hindu festival. Only put loudspeaker only from 6 a.m. to 6:30 a.m. 7 p.m.
No,
to
I'll
8
tell you what. Maybe there are certain police departments up in Haryana and Uttar Pradesh who have very nicely gone and who have found. Okay, complete.
Tanvi, let me complete. Recently, in the Durga Puja in West Bengal, there are n number of conditions that have pasted on the Durga pandals. What did they say? From 6 a.m. to 6:30 p.m., namaz will going on. Namaz will go. Don't put your loudspeaker. Don't tell your mantra. What kind of the society are we living in? This is what the problem is. why are you being selective? Why do you select only Hindu festival? Why not other religion festival? That is the question. This
Okay.
question,
Got it. I got your question.
question.
I got your question. I don't think they are, but okay if you think so. I also think in a country where the majority population is from a specific religion and a majority of the people in that country follow such traditions, maybe you need to first talk about that and then talk about the others. You will end up addressing a larger problem first and then you get to the other problems. That's how I see. Anurag Naidu has been patiently waiting. Let's hear his view. Yes, Anurag.
Well, Tanvi, first of all, as I know, Mr. Goenka has a great taste when it comes to creative content, and we've always been, appreciating him for the good content that he's always been, promoting. But this comes to be a really, bad taste for me as I see it. Tanvi, my point is the common denominator is always a Diwali or a Holi. Why is it? I remember I was on your show last time when we did a debate on the Tanishq ad last year, exactly the same time. And I see it again. But who are we to judge what is right and what is wrong? My target is not Mr. Goenka or Ceat for that matter. And I'll take this advantage being the only panelist today who comes from a strong automotive background of having designed cars and having worked in more than 6 countries for the top brands in the world. Why don't need an ad which is religiously associated to prove the quality of my tires? That's
because actually it's not religiously associated, Anurag. It's not religiously associated. The festival of Diwali, as it's was seen by our ancestors and is part of our culture and heritage, has nothing to do with the practice of today's day and age where you burst crackers on the road. It doesn't. So let's not give it the religious turn. It has nothing to do with that.
Tanvi, who are we to decide what is wrong and what is right?
We are the people who will have to. We are the people who will have to. That's why we stood up against dowry, no? That's why we stood up against the practice of sati, no? That is why we stood up against the practice of triple talaq, right? Triple talaq, dowry. We are debating about polygamy. We are talking about sati practice being done away with 50 years ago. Then where did this argument go then? When times move, you have to move with times and you have to look at practices that are actually progressive.
The law of the land do not, I'm sorry to say,
the law of the land does not allow you to burst crackers on the road. Mr. Anurag Naidu, no, that's not the point here.
I'm very happy if population of my country, the poor country, is using roads to burn crackers rather than burning at their homes. So I'll be more than, accommodative of the fact that at least they're expressing their joy. Let's not try. It's not about Diwali, Tanvi.
So you are using the argument. You are using the argument that people who don't have any other space in our country with so much population. They don't have space. Hence, they have to go on the road to burst crackers because everybody doesn't live. Allow me to. You can respond to it. I'm asking you this question. You are saying the argument is that people don't have space. Not everybody lives in large-scale societies where there are parks or large spaces inside their society campuses. We can do that, right? Does the same then the same argument goes for namaaz also, na, Anurag?
Absolutely.
So then why do we get so upset all the time that these people are sitting on the roads and they are praying? These are the kind of comments I hear. Why do we get upset then? You provide them space, space to those who are believers of all religion to go and practice their religion, to pray for their religion. They'll be fine.
I'll tell you, namaaz, I've seen nobody in India, and correct me if I'm wrong, I've seen nobody in India praying or performing namaaz in the middle of the road. They don't. They have designated sites. What are mosques? Mosques, see, there's a basic difference.
Please tell that to Mr. Hegde.
Mosques are the place of congregation.
Please tell that to Mr. Vijay Prasad.
Let's have it at place. I'm going to say that. I'm being very objective.
Yes, Anurag, tell that to Mr. Vijay Prasad because he sees that everywhere.
Anurag,
all I'm saying is we don't work.
Come on, Anurag. How can you say that the people don't?
No, I'm saying okay. I'll put it other way. Even if they're doing because of lack of space, I would still consider it whether it is a Hindu, Muslim, Christian, or a Sikh. My point here is people don't work, at least in Hinduism, they don't work on fatwa. It is just an expression of joy. Burning of cracker is an expression of joy. Nothing to do with Diwali. If you are really targeting Diwali, and I'm sorry to say, you should never do it. because it happens on a Holi, it happens on New Year. Go and stop Burj Khalifa, firecracker. Go and stop IPL. We don't go and tell people when they're burning crackers in IPL. We don't go and tell people when they're celebrating their election victories. We don't tell people when they are, celebrating something else or the weddings and all that. The population does.
That is not,
the pollution
that is
doesn't
not the
come in
only
then.
thing. No, that is not the only thing, Anurag. The issue is we don't go and give tips how to set the fielding, how to bat,
Exactly.
how to bowl.
When we talk about India being
Okay.
a country which is respecting freedom of religious practice, freedom of expression, and all kind of freedom, we call ourselves the most liberal country. Then why don't we act as a liberal one? Why are we targeting one? See, the common denominator amongst all that, I'm sorry to say, has always been Diwali. Because maybe Diwali brings in the highest TRP of the year. Maybe Diwali brings in, the kind of viewership that the ads want. And they sometimes go wrong intentionally or unintentionally.
Okay,
But
okay,
the
you
trends
asked.
have always stood.
Okay. By the way, I also want our viewers to know this as I go back to our other panelists. This is actually a series of ads that Ceat is doing. There is a larger campaign, obviously based around safety on roads and the fact that their tires provide you that better safety, but with social messaging. So, Mr. Bijoy Mishra, the other ad in the same series actually talks about two-wheelers entering in one-way roads and how that's a really bad practice. That ad is actually Amir Khan speaking to a bunch of two-wheeler riders who are possibly some kind of delivery agents, and he's telling them that, stop this practice of going into these one-ways. And then the ad shows one two-wheeler and a car coming head-on, and thankfully the tires save them. So actually the larger message here by the brand and the intent of the brand is to talk about road safety, but we refuse to see it like that.
No, that's what, Tanvi, you will recall my opening remark. You see, the consumers like to watch something which is very creative. They want to understand certain things in a very creative manner, the message, and there is a very high recall value. Why do you think Amir Khan has been, hired and engaged to do this ad? Because he's an excellent actor. And because he's an excellent actor, he conveys his message, and all over India, all over the world, people recognize him. He's a celebrity. So they immediately relate Amir Khan with a great amount of respect in terms of his message. And as you know, in our country, people get carried away by the celebrities because they have a recall value. And because they have a recall value, the brands invest a lot of money in bringing them together in a creative manner to convey a message, as you very rightly said, Tanvi. You see, and I also want to correct you in my last remark. I don't want people to go to the litigation. But if people are so annoyed and so upset,
yes,
then let them go, because already the courts are overburdened and they still want to overburden the courts with such kind of silly kind of perceptions. So my contention is, it is always good to put to rest, and that is why the High Court of Tripura has put it on rest.
Yes.
On such issues, that it is not intentional. So the point is, what you have made very rightly, Tanvi, is that it is the messaging which is going, and we lose the core message and we start talking about the periphery. The periphery has got nothing to do other than a kind of a creativity in a recall value. Amir Khan has been brought in terms of various kind of reform, manifestations in conveying this kind of messaging. And creative ads are coming. Let's enjoy that. It's very good.
Okay.
These ads are excellent.
Yes, well, so you're talking from a consumer creativity, freedom and social messaging point of view. The brand experts that we've had speak all obviously are watching out for the brands and their businesses, and that's the advice they are saying, that stay away, don't get into trouble. Completely out of time, but Mr. Jagdeep Kapoor, last comment to you. Yes, you wanted to make a point, Mr. Kapoor.
Yeah, I'll just make one last comment. Do not hurt, and this is for corporates, do not hurt the brand sales and brand profits by hurting the sentiments of any segment of consumers. That's my last point.
Okay. I want to just give one example. Somebody who used an ad of a clothing brand where women were in beautiful attire, traditional attire. They wanted to sell traditional clothes in the peak of festival season. but used the term Jashn-e-Rewaz, and that created the trouble. I don't know who's looking at this from the prism of communalism or targeting a religion. Is it the people who are objecting or the people who are actually creating it? Similarly, in an ad where the message is about not resorting to dangerous practices that could lead to accidents and loss of lives, when we see communal color in that, who's really dividing people? Those who object or those who are actually trying to send a message of road safety? When we say that people's sentiments are getting hurt and people are getting divided and you're spreading divisiveness, who's doing that? Is it the simple ad that somebody created with a positive message, or the ones who see a communal angle in it and highlight it and repeatedly drill it in our heads? Repeatedly, they're drilling it in our heads. Oh, everybody is out to get you. Everybody is out to get your festival. Everybody is out to target your religion. Repeatedly. Then who's creating this division? I leave that for you to think about. Thank you for joining us.